This is the new £175,000 Vantage Roadster, and according to Aston Martin, it's the best they've ever made. They say it's engineered for real drivers, that it has class-leading performance, and that it's the most potent front-engined, rear-drive, drop-top sports car on the market today.
That's big talk. Let's see if it's true.
Let's start with the claim that it's the most potent, and to examine that, we need to examine what powers the thing and how it compares to its rivals.
Under the bonnet, the Vantage Roadster uses an AMG-derived 4-litre twin-turbo V8, making 665 PS. It also makes 800 Nm of torque. Not that I'll be needing all of that today because the weather's quite interesting. We're out here filming on the border between Germany and Austria where the climate is quite changeable. So don't be surprised if you see some footage where the weather is gorgeous and then some of it, like this bit, where it's a bit damp. Still, it's very powerful. But is it, as they claim, the most potent front-engine rear-wheel drive sports car in the world?
The short answer is no. Not if potent means most powerful anyway. Cars like the admittedly more expensive Ferrari 12 Cilindri and even Aston's own Vanquish both leave this car in the shade, although you could argue this is the most potent front-engined rear-drive sports car in its price range.
Aston Martin claim class-leading performance. What's that, top speed plus 0 to 60? Well, I'm nowhere near an Autobahn right now, but I can assess the 0 to 60, so let's pull in and do that, shall we? Okay, Sport Plus, foot on the brake, foot on the accelerator, race starts active. Let's go! Oh, oh my God! So a little bit of a traction issue. Not quite putting the power down, is it? They claim it'll do 0 to 62 in 3.6 seconds. I think it's more like 6.3 today. It is lively.
But even under ideal conditions, if straight-line acceleration is what you want, drop tops from Bentley, McLaren and Porsche all accelerate quicker, even if Aston doesn't quite consider these cars to be in the same category as the Vantage Roadster. Stepping away from the raw numbers though, Aston Martin do make another claim that might be impossible to argue with.
They say the Vantage Roadster is engineered for real drivers, not you fake, pretend, phony, wannabe, not quite drivers, real drivers. And even though that sounds a bit airy-fairy, do you know what? I agree with them because this thing is so lively, honestly. The power is ridiculous, but more than that is the fact that you've really got to be on your game to keep that power under control. My God!
It can be such a handful, especially in the wet. With 665 PS on tap, you have to keep your wits about you. Too much right foot and the car will react in ways that terrify and delight in equal measure.
Now, when you drive this car, you constantly live in the margins between fear and excitement. You've got your eyes wide open, your palms are always sweaty, your heart rate is always pounding a couple of BPM higher than it would in other cars. So you gotta be sharp. But I love it. The other thing I love is that the Vantage Roadster sounds absolutely phenomenal. Honestly, outside of a Lamborghini, it might be one of the best sounding cars on the market today. We live in a world where there's all sorts of emissions regulations and noise limits, but despite that, it sings a really nice note. The pops and bangs, the tone, everything about it just puts a smile on your face. I love that.
So, putting aside the hyperbole of class-leading this or most potent that, what are the facts about this new Vantage Roadster? The coupe version we tested last year was a fabulous thing, reinvented from top to bottom compared to the previous generation car. And all of those improvements have been carried over to the Roadster. That means under the bonnet we have the same lovely AMG-sourced engine. No hybrid tech, no electrification, just fire, providing an extra 155 PS and 115 Nm over the previous generation engine.
Those increases are possible because the car now has a bigger grille. It's 30% bigger than it was on the previous Vantage, and that allows extra air into the engine to make it more powerful and more torquey. You can actually see how exposed the radiators are. Really clever trick, and it works. Some people might say the front is a little bit too big, but it's very in keeping with the rest of the design. Quite compact, but also very muscular and sinewy. It's almost like they've stretched the metal across the skeleton, and to me, it looks absolutely phenomenal. There's some new colors, including this one. This is a satin iridescent sapphire, aka metallic blue. Some new wheels. These are 21s all round, 275s up front, 325s at the rear. And they're running Michelin Pilot Sport S5 rubber, plus carbon absolutely everywhere you look. Carbon door mirror, carbon side skirts, carbon trim just there, carbon front splitter, carbon rear diffuser. And then there is, of course, the star of the show, the roof. This is a Roadster, after all. Aston Martin say it has the fastest operating roof of any sports car, partly thanks to the fact that it uses a Z-fold mechanism rather than the inferior K-fold mechanism, and it is fast. It opens and closes in just 6.8 seconds, and you can even operate it from the key or while you're driving up to 31 miles an hour. What a flex.
And this car, unlike some convertibles, looks just as good with the roof up as it does down, and from any angle, including the rear, which is full of fluid organic shapes and enhanced by quad exhausts that protrude from the bumper above the huge carbon fiber diffuser to improve airflow. It's a sight to behold.
The interior is sexy as well. Phenomenal to look at and sit in. I love the fact they've updated it with the latest interior that we first saw in the DB12. So now you get a really modern infotainment system. The screen itself is brilliant, clear, crisp, and the functionality inside is really nice too. You can play with your drive mode settings, view your telemetry, plus assistant systems, and it's all there, it really is. Plus, here's what I love, even though you've got a touchscreen, you've still got physical tactile buttons to play with on the center console to adjust things like your temperature, engine start, heated and cooled seating, which you can operate simultaneously for some reason. You can control your exhaust, your suspension, and the list goes on. Here's another thing that's really good as well, the stereo. A lot of sports car manufacturers get that wrong. The likes of Maserati and Ferrari give you really terrible stereo systems, but Bowers & Wilkins have partnered up with Aston Martin to give you one of the best sounding sports car stereos in the game. Fantastic. Plus it runs Apple CarPlay, all the mod cons you can expect. It's good. Here's what's not good though, storage. This car has a pretty useless glove box. I don't even think it's big enough for gloves. This center console, again, next to useless. There is a third storage area back here, but again, it's not massive and it's actually quite cheap. Look at this. The sound of that. Yeah, I mean, it's just not befitting a car costing as much as an Aston Martin Vantage. And here's another thing that annoys me. This car has a vanity mirror, but it doesn't have a light for the vanity mirror. What car doesn't have that? Come on, a lot of people are going to really complain about that. How are they going to look good in their Aston Martin? I suppose it's just as well the car looks good, so maybe you don't have to. Forget the car for a second. How about this location, huh? Yeah, and I'm not putting the roof up, despite the rain. This is a really cool place. This is actually called the Rostellstraße, which you might describe as Hitler's driveway. Apparently, he was gifted a place called the Eagle's Nest, but he also had a separate residence here where apparently the Nazis used to get together to plan things, including the invasion of Poland many years ago, where, yeah, that led to a little thing called World War II. Still, we've moved on from that, and look at us now. I'm driving a British car with a German engine. Things have changed.
Quick side note, this was the very road that a couple of years ago we used to film the Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo in a blizzard and got stuck and had to call for help. And here we are again, suckers for punishment.
So what's it like to drive? Well, really quite pleasant, actually. I love these seats. Really, really good support. Quite comfortable. I've been in these for hours now with zero complaints whatsoever. Like I said before, they're heated and cooled. Also, the driving position is spot on. Some Aston Martins from the past didn't really have a great driving position. The driver's seat and the steering wheel were offset from each other, so you were driving kind of side saddle, but everything about this new one, Yeah, spot on. Refinement is good as well. Roof up or roof down. With the roof up, you've got 8 layers separating you from the elements. Nice touch. Plus, with the roof down, you've got double glazing. And because it's a small car, a lot of the wind gets thrown over your head without reverberating throughout the cockpit. A lot of convertibles tend to fall down compared to their coupe counterparts because they're not very stiff. Structurally, they're just not very good. However, there isn't actually a massive difference between this Roadster and the coupe because they've concentrated really hard on adding quite a lot of extra bracing in order to make the chassis feel really quite rigid. You don't get any of that kind of telltale scuttle shake which ruins the ride and the driving experience. They've done a good job there. The obvious downside though is the fact that it is a little bit heavier than the coupe, 60 kilograms heavier. But again, not such a big deal. It only weighs 1665 kg, which in the modern world still makes it quite a light car.
The ride comfort, on Hitler's very well-paved driveway anyway, is very good. The adaptive springs use skyhook technology, helping the car to feel really comfortable. It's very dailyable, if that's what you want, and packs all the latest tech including lane departure, autonomous braking, and adaptive cruise control.
I think it's fair to say that the Vantage Coupe straddled the line between sports car and supercar incredibly well. It was fun to drive, but also it had massive performance. And this Roadster is exactly the same. The performance is just breathtaking. Having 665 PS on tap, it concentrates the mind, let me tell you that, particularly in these conditions. The steering is super accurate. You point the car and it goes exactly where you want. It can feel a little bit artificially heavy sometimes, but you can adjust that through the settings. Plus it's got a non-isolated steering column, which means you get quite a lot of feedback through the wheel. The car's communicating with you at all times. It's telling you exactly what its intentions are. Cars like this have the potential to be quite snappy, quite spiky, quite unapproachable. This one is actually surprisingly tame, but you do have to be on top of your game in order to get the most from it. I think the biggest takeaway from this car though is that it's just bloody good fun to drive. A lot more exciting than the likes of the Bentley Continental GT convertible, the McLaren Artura Spider, or even the Porsche 911 Turbo Cabriolet. It's just exciting.
The Vantage feels chuckable and agile and light and shrink wraps itself around you, relying more on your talents as a driver than anything else on the market in this category. It combines stunning looks, a premium feel, and bags of driver involvement in a way that others simply can't match. Is it the best sports car in its class? That debate will rage on, but one thing is clear. This is the best Vantage Aston has delivered so far.